What's good, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece. I am your host, Patrick Armstrong, and this is a show where we talk about the missing pieces of the conversations that we're already having. I appreciate y'all being here, whether you're a first-time listener, a returning listener, or anybody who chooses to stay with us for however long that will be here in 2024, the year of the Nap. It's very exciting. We are 5 episodes away from episode 100. We have some really cool announcements coming up for that, but until then, I am very, very excited about my guest today. He is a fashion, streetwear, and editorial photographer based right here in Indianapolis, and he has a new project coming out titled Visual Aural, a dual medium art piece crafted to enhance the visual experience of photos and the aural experience of music. I've no doubt you've seen his work at some point, either around the city or online. So without further ado, it is my privilege and honor to welcome Jake Moran to the show. Jake, thank you for sitting down with me.
Thanks for having me. I have been kind of going through the backlog, and I think one thing that really stands out about your platform here is that you can tell you're just a genuine fan of everyone in the city.
Thank you.
And I think that like from one fan to another, like people buy into that.
I appreciate
right?
that.
You know, so I mean, I can tell you just want everyone to win and do well. So
I appreciate that. A quote that's always stuck with me is that I don't want to just win by myself. I want to win and everybody else win with me. I want to raise everybody up. So
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I'm the one getting raised up, so that's very nice. And I just want to mention, you asked me right before we hopped on here whether I get nervous. And I will say, as I go through someone's intro, that does make me nervous because I am a fan and I want to make sure that I'm properly lifting you up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always piecing people's intros together and writing it for them, always worried that they're going to be like, that was wrong or that didn't come off well. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, it's, there's not much about me out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think what you pulled was right. I definitely have kind of over the past 4 or 5 years have predominantly worked within like the hip hop scene
For sure.
here. So I've kind of changed a creative direction, and that's pretty much where I spend all of my creative time.
100%. Well, we're definitely going to get into that.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's not much about you online. I shared a little bit about you that I found. But for anybody listening or watching out there who doesn't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a tidbit more about yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Jake Moran. A lot of people know me as Jake with a shot. I kind of fell into that group of people that their Instagram name kind of just became their name.
Yes.
So,
I feel that.
but yeah, I'm a visual artist and photographer. I like to keep those two separate because I do think they're very, very different things.
Okay.
I'm just overall kind of just a hip hop guy. My earliest memories are just kind of hanging around a boombox with my brother, playing Game Boys, like listening to rap.
Okay.
So definitely has always been a huge part of who I am. And aside from that, I'm a big reader, home cook, gamer, husband. That's important to me.
Yes.
And just overall supporter of the music scene, art scene, specifically, the really vibrant rap scene here.
I'm here for it. Current book that you're reading?
I am reading The Blade itself. So I'm big into sci-fi, fantasy, high fantasy.
Yep.
So I'm starting this one. It's a 3-book series, but before that, I've been gushing to everyone about the Broken Age trilogy.
Okay.
Which is a fantasy book by N.K. Jemisin, and she's one of the first people to win the Hugo Award for all 3 of the entries in the Broken Age trilogy. And the first book is my favorite book of all time. It's absolutely incredible. I'm big into fantasy and high fantasy and sci-fi, and last year I kind of made a commitment to myself to read more women fantasy.
Nice.
Just because a lot of it's old crusty white
100%.
dudes. So before that, I read the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, and which is kind of like a magical mobster story, but like Asian influenced, and it's absolutely amazing.
I'm here for that.
Yeah, it's great.
I got to get into that. I got to get into some more fantasy, 100%. You said that you hold visual artist and photographer separately. What is the difference for you and how you define that?
Yeah. When I was first, when I first picked up the camera, I just had no business acumen. And the business side of doing photography just really bogged me down.
Okay.
Trying to go out there and offer your services to everyone and getting booked for gigs that I wasn't passionate about and I was doing, half-hearted work. And I pretty quickly was just like, I don't want to be a photographer.
Mm.
You know, I want to be a artist in my own right, or at least try to become an artist, because I've never really been that creative until I picked up the camera.
Okay.
So photography to me is mainly how I make my money. I do real estate and architectural photography full time, and I love it. It's great. But me being a visual artist is me being able to put together these physical experiences in terms of my photography, and doing it within the rap scene and creating something that, you know, is more fulfilling than just some headshots or portraits or family photos. So.
Definitely. Well, you need to have the kind of that base foundation to be able to pursue some of these bigger, wilder, more creative dreams that you want to pursue, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is the society that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
Where you have to have one thing to do the other.
Yeah, you got to find something that pays the bills and then something that like pays your soul, I guess.
When we were talking about off air that you had found a passion for that work that you do that pays the bills. So it helps to be able to do that and then take a day off and be able to work on that further passion.
Yeah. And I mean, even, you know, my Monday through Friday gig doing real estate and architecture, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I know I really love it.
I like it.
So,
so when did you first pick up the camera?
I think it was 2018. I was actually at VU going to school for ASL.
Okay.
And I really liked it, but I wasn't like super passionate about it. And it was around the time that my wife and I were rewatching all of the America's Next Top Model seasons.
Okay.
So, and I just remember being really interested in the photo shoot aspect of it, being like, oh, maybe she should have done this or done that or this.
Yeah.
And then we were watching an episode one day and I just said, you know what, I bet I could be a photographer. And probably about 2 weeks after that, I dropped out of college and bought a little Nikon D3400. And just kind of, for the first 2 years, just went out to shows with my camera and just photographed people's sets and then hit them up afterwards like, hey, my name's Jake. I liked your set. Here's some photos. Let's work.
So you got the itch immediately and scratched it. Like there wasn't any waiting around or thinking about it. It was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing it. I think I was always looking for some sort of creative outlet.
Sure.
And I thought, you know, photography is a very, very generous medium. I don't feel like anyone can't pick it up and become good.
Okay.
If you really, really loved it and really want to become good, I do believe anyone can pick up the camera and do it, because I did it. And I was never a creative person before doing this. So it was just kind of like I needed to create something, And it kind of all worked out. And I just kind of kept making connections. And then,
Yeah. It's like that need to create is so interesting because you said a couple times you're like you weren't creative before you picked the camera up. And I find that as I've like unpacked my own story and understood like this sameness that I stayed in for 30 years before I found podcasting, which I consider to be, or storytelling to be like the creative expression that I use. What I've been unpacking is this idea that, I always had creativity in me, but the expressing of said creativity, I never was able to find the appropriate medium that worked for me, that I had passion for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny how much passion will just drive you to necessity.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, all right, well, I mean, I've always been a really good failure, I've always said, because I've tried so many things before photography worked out. And I've never been afraid to like try something and then be like, I suck at this. Like before I did photography, I tried making beats. It was bad. It was really, really bad. Before that, I did creative writing and I had some success in that. And but you're totally right. You know, the need to create something, whether it's creating a meal, whether it's, you know, my wife's a yoga teacher, whether it's creating a flow, like it's just, you know, to create anything, I think is just so beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, 100%. So you pick up the Nikon and you start going to shows. Do you remember the first time that you walked away from a show and you felt like, this is for sure what I'm supposed to be doing? Because you said you were trying to figure out you didn't have any idea about the business aspect of it before, but then at some point it had to have been like, oh, yep, this is like, I need to go further with this. Yeah,
that's I'm trying to, because I was listening to like local rap years before I picked up the camera. So I knew I wanted to get involved somehow in that scene. But I do believe I went to a show at Square Cat before it had expanded. And Fox the Legend and Double A were both on the same bill.
Ooh,
and
nice.
it was one of those shows where I just brought my camera and I was like, I'm going to take photos of their set and listen to their music and send it to them afterward. Hopefully we can start a creative relationship and, work with each other. And I think leaving that show with those two particular artists definitely kind of showed me like there's a need for this to be highlighted because we are in a time right now where there is a lot of talent in terms of rapping in the city.
Yep.
That needs to be documented,
Yeah.
And, I think that's definitely one of the shows that kind of sticks out in my mind.
Was that one of his Double A's first shows? This is like 2019, maybe 2018.
Yeah,
19?
Probably around there. I don't know if it was one of his first ones.
Okay.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, I know it was before Square Cat expanded. It was a very, very small, kind of like intimate set.
Yeah.
And yeah, gosh, it was so long ago at this point. I've gone to so many shows with just a camera in hand.
That's kind of that's nice. It's like a nice overload of memory to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the reason I asked, and the reason because I had just read an article that you wrote or an interview you did for your Art Defined with Pattern that you did with Double A.
All right, Nardwar. Yeah.
And he talked about one of the first shows that he did.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is because I'd read that you interned with Pattern a few different times, or a couple different times. And you said that it was the second opportunity that allowed you to find your creative voice.
Yeah.
Was that second internship. Personally, I feel like you have a really distinct style. Like when I see a photo by you, like I feel like I could probably say, okay, that might be Jake with the shot. That might be Jake Moran.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, your concert photography specifically is so captivating, I feel like, and it tells such a story. Like it really is very distinct in a way that stands out from other folks in the city and just in general. I will say, I wrote this down. I just want to say it. I said it would be a disservice for me to try to define or describe it, even though I just did. And I did a disservice to you by doing that.
No, you did it well. Yeah.
I was wondering if you could share, and maybe this is tied to that previous answer, but if you could share when you first noticed that you were tapping into your creative voice.
I would have to say it was that internship at Pattern.
Just overall, was the formation of
Yeah. That second one, I remember talking to the editor, and I had just kind of written a little bit for them, but I kind of went to her and I was like, I kind of want to do more of this, and she said, well, why don't we give you a column, which is where Art Identified came from, where it was the idea was that I would do everything. I would do the interview and I would do the photo shoot, all on black and white film. I was kind of, like most people around that time, like 2019 to 2020, I was like really, really into film photography. So I just wanted to kind of start to create an identity for me, specifically doing black and white photography.
Okay.
And black and white photography paired with some insight into whoever I was talking to.
Sure.
To just kind of highlight all of the awesome creatives that were here,
but
do it in my own way. And Pattern gave me that voice to start to find how much I really, really loved black and white photography.
And was that black and white came about in that second internship? Was there something that you were that always drew you to that once you had picked up the camera? Was this idea of black and white, or?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his name's Daido Moriyama, I believe.
Okay.
He's a old street photographer, and he just went out and just photographed a lot, just like on a tiny little Ricoh, I think. And I have a couple of his photo books, and some of his images were just super striking, and he pretty much but he's mostly known for black and white photography. So part of it was influence from just like images that I like. And when you see a lot of 90s hip hop photos, I feel like they're typically in black and white,
That's true.
I remember seeing one very specific photo. I can't remember who took it, but it was Nas in his bedroom. And it was a photo taken of him like 3 weeks before Illmatic dropped. And it was just, I don't know, there was just something about black and white photography to me that captured a moment in its truest form while taking the color away somehow.
Ooh,
because you're really just looking at what it is. I don't know. It's hard to explain. And then another part of it came because I was horrible at color grading. So it was a little bit of both. I've learned how to color grade more now, but I think it was a little bit inspiration and then also a little bit like, I don't know how to color grade.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. The second part, but definitely the first part and where that influence kind of has come from. And this idea of like what the story is behind said photo. Like it wasn't just that, oh, the photo was striking, but like, again, this moment in this larger story of what Nas was doing at that time, what was happening in hip hop at that time.
And the idea that like that person who took that photo, and this doesn't really speak to the black and white, but it just speaks to the photo. The idea that that person took that photo and probably had no idea like what that photo was going to mean. Like taking a photo literally weeks before one of the greatest albums to ever get released is just awesome. And I think with it being in black and white, it just, I don't know, for me, it's just a little bit more striking.
I like it. I like it. We've been talking about hip hop and we're gonna get to it. I have one more thing because I appreciate you sharing a little bit of these like insights into this process, your own creative process and how you kind of got to this point. And another thing that stood out to me during your time with Pattern was one of the features that you did with the Indiana Prisons Writers Workshop. And I was wondering if you could share anything that really stuck out to you about that project or anything that you took away that helped you develop your creative voice and your storytelling voice. At that time.
Gosh, you did research. Yeah.
Thank you.
Gosh, yeah, that was a while ago. I do remember really, really being proud of that specific segment. I believe her name was Deborah, was the lady who runs it. And she reached out to me to just kind of like, hey, you know, can we talk about this on your platform? And we, you know, talked a little bit. And I said, you know, why don't we have like a full article about it? Why don't we bring in some of the people to do portraits of them and kind of talk about their experiences? I just loved the idea of getting creative writing into prisons and like jails and like helping people rehabilitate through some sort of creative outlet, you know, kind of like what Madeline was saying with like creative activism. You know, I feel like that definitely taps into that.
For sure.
So Deborah was amazing. Everyone who came and let me take their photos was great. Gosh, it was a while ago, so it's kind of hard for me to like recollect, but I do remember being very proud of that and feeling like that was a very important thing to be doing and to like try to do.
Well, I really loved it because especially now that I have a little bit more context about the black and white like choices and like the idea of like sitting in the moment with each of these writers and each of these folks that you got a chance to photograph. And then in the story itself, in the interview itself, I was like, this dude is like a really good interviewer too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I felt like I was like,
from you, that means
good ass
thank
questions.
you.
And I was just like, it just struck me in the way that not only were you visually telling a story, but like you have really strong just writing chops as well.
Thank you.
In terms of like,
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, how do I have a good conversation with the person? It didn't feel like this is just an interview, but like I've also done my research coming into this project.
Definitely.
And I'm not just entering into a space that maybe I'm not welcome or I don't know about. Like I want to be intentional about the work that I'm doing here.
Yeah, and similar to what I just said, like right when we started, like I'm just such a fan of creativeness, the same way you are. So when I wanted to interview someone, like I'm a fan of them. So it's easy for me to do my research because I enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. That means a lot.
100%. All right, we've been talking, especially Naptown hip hop. So we're gonna get into it. You're obviously very ubiquitous in the scene. Like you've been, especially since you picked up the camera. But you've been talking about, you know, you've been listening for a long time. Who were some of the first people that you started to listen to? You came up with like in just bumping.
Yeah, it was Halloween 2016. A couple weeks before that, a song called Ride Around by Sirius Black came out. And I don't even know how I came upon it, but I saw, oh, Sirius Black, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
So I clicked on it and it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, especially like the way he ends the song, like his last verse, I have probably like replayed over and over and over. But I remember just being like, wow, this is nuts. And I was like, this guy's from, I was going to all my friends like, do you listen to this guy? He's from Indiana. Like he's from Naptown. Isn't this crazy? Isn't this crazy? And he had a release show Halloween night at the old Hi-Fi. and all of my friends went to a Halloween party, and I went to the show by myself.
Nice.
And he was selling like physical copies of Nightcrawler, the album, and I still have that physical copy of the album, and he played it in full. And I just remember like leaving it and just kind of being in awe that this level of music that I love so much is happening in my city. And like, I'm just now finding out about it. It was just kind of crazy to me. And from there, I mean, because Sirius is a top 5 rapper of all time for me.
Okay.
Like local or not.
Yeah.
Like he's just such a phenomenal writer, and he's just such a great lyricist, and he's a crazy hook maker.
Yeah.
Great rapper. And then from there, you know, it started to lead to Mula Khan, who I think has one of the more unique voices that I've ever come, you know, to listen to. And then, you know, it would lead to other people like Distinct, Fox the Legend, Baby Ebony, eventually, you know, Double A. And then it pretty much started to become the norm that local rappers were awesome.
Yeah.
You know, that I was listening to a local rapper that would like really impress me as opposed to vice versa. Because I feel like music in general, but rap specifically, I think it's really hard to like get people to buy into locally.
Yeah.
You know, because like there's even memes about it, right? Where it's like, hey, if you're ever feeling bad about where you are in life, just know there's someone from your graduating class still trying to become a rapper. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I feel like maybe I had that view until I started like actually listening to it, and just, I mean, the level of talent just started to speak for itself. And it made me really, really prideful to know that it was being made in my city, and I just wanted to find some way to be involved.
Yeah. I resonate with that so much because I feel like when I lived in Indianapolis in the mid-aughts, I was just really starting to get into hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I listened to like Marshall Mathers LP and stuff when I was really young. But like, this was like the era of the Cuddies and the Drakes and like Wale and everybody. But the only like Indiana rapper that I was aware of outside of Freddie Gibbs was Flacco Is Bored. And we just randomly stumbled on one of his songs that I don't remember the name of, but the melody's like, John knows what I'm talking about. But it was just like something that we played all the time. And I was like, no way this dude's from Indiana.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I just didn't run with that thread. And then now that I'm here, I've talked about it with Skip, I've talked about it with Corey and with Dubs, just like, I feel like I'm in a renaissance of my own making of hip hop where I'm catching up to stuff from 2015, 2016, 2017 that is so dope. But there's also this new wave of things that are coming out now that is even a level beyond what we were here. I feel like what was coming out even then.
Yeah.
And from the same dudes that have been doing it.
It's crazy to know that like there's a rap history in Nap.
You know,
like there is more. And I mean, my knowledge probably only goes back to like my experience with, you know, the Nightcrawler release show in 2016. There's so much stuff before that I don't even know about. So it's crazy. Yeah, I totally agree to like sit there and be like, oh, there's a history of great music being here.
Yeah. So you're in 2016, you're discovering. Now you're learning and you're diving in. 2018, 2019, you're going to shows, taking pictures of these said folks who I'm assuming you started to build community with, but that's the question is, how did you start to like enmesh yourself outside of just showing up at a show to start creating with some of these other folks that are making the music that you listen to in the city that then leads to projects that come out of this, like Visual Aural and like While They Slept?
Yeah. I think when I was going to these shows before I would go with my camera, I would actually listen to them, you know, before I would go. So while I was photographing it, I would also be rapping along with them.
Right.
So I think that they saw that, you know, I was coming at this from a fan perspective, you know. And then I continued to listen to them and then work with them kind of like sporadically. One thing that I think I would like to see more of is consumers of the art actually consuming the art. I feel like it's much easier to post about art as opposed to it's I think people think it's cooler to act like you are involved as opposed to actually being involved.
Well, it's easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely easier. So I would just, when I was go to these shows, I would be rapping along, and I wish more people were consuming the music that these people are making, instead of just sharing or like just holding their phone up and recording them as they're performing.
Do you think that's something that happens in Indianapolis, in this scene here?
I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think, sharing on social media is great.
Right.
It does spread the word. But are you actually spending time with what these rappers are saying? Are you really listening to the music? Are you riding around listening to the music? I really was. And I think that everyone that I've worked with from the previous book and even on this book, I think they see that. And they see that I am a genuine fans of them. And I just want to have a part, I just want to create something with them because I love the music and have a creative voice of my own that I kind of want to lend to theirs.
I love it. So let's talk about how those creative voices come together and have come together in Visual Aural. Let's break it down. What is the project itself? I talked about it again a little bit in the intro, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, so Visual Aural is kind of, I would say, it is at its very, very base like a read-along book, essentially, is the simplest terms, but I like to brand it as a dual medium experience where images are reflecting what you're hearing and what you are hearing is being reflected in the images. So I got 10 artists to make original songs. And then when we made those songs, we also did photos for them. So it was really kind of like an art replicating art type of thing. And I just kind of wanted to create an experience for people to actually consume and actually interact with what they are listening and what they are seeing. I've kind of transitioned into doing more physical media because I kind of had an epiphany, I would say, in like 2021 where I was just looking at my phone and I kind of thought, like if Instagram wasn't a thing, would I be a photographer?
Sure.
It's at the end of the day, there's nothing different between me and my grandmother who's posting photos of her grandkids, if I
Sure.
So it was just kind of like, am I a photographer or am I just posting photos? Am I an artist or am I just, posting things?
Sure.
And that's what led me to make While They Slept, which was my first book, which featured 25 different rappers, all shot on black and white film. And that was really just to see if people would be interested in it.
Sure.
And it released and it was great. And we had a great show for it. And so I took the building blocks from that and I said, okay, now let's make something that's really, really crafted. Let's make an experience. Let's have two different functions of this one art piece,
Sure.
The music side and the photo side. And they both stand alone. You can consume either one of them without the other, but to get the full experience, you press play on the tape, which is how the book starts. It says step 1, press play, step 2, turn page. So the idea is that you listen to it as you're flipping through it.
Yep.
And it's, two art forms being experienced at once. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You 100%
I
answered
kind of went rambling, and I was like, I'm not sure if he even asked that.
No, not at all. I think you thoroughly answered the question.
Cool.
And I think what's interesting is this idea of melding creative voices. But it's not just your creative voice and then one other artist's creative voice. It's like, how can we make this an ensemble? How can we do it
100%.
as a community?
And just like what you said earlier, like bringing people up with you.
Yeah.
I don't think I will ever release a photo book that doesn't involve a lot of different people.
Sure.
Because I think everything is better when we create together.
100%. Well, and then it just opens us up to so much more. This might sound corny, but humanity, because I feel like, so the artists that are on this project, you said, are all creating their own original song to bring to the project. And I feel like as artists, when you create something, like you're putting a piece of yourself in that. Like if you're truly creating it, if you're not just posting it, like part of yourself is going into that thing. And that's what people are generally going to take away from it, you hope, once it's released. How do you decide, like, who's going to come together on this? Then how are we going to like pare it down to 10 songs? This is what we're looking for. Like, how does that work?
It was really, really tough. With While They Slept, it was very guerrilla style. It was like, hey, let's take.
Are you available? Let's go.
Exactly,
Let's meet here.
Exactly. Let's go down the street. Who cares? You know. So with this one, like I said, I wanted it to be very, very crafted and intentional. I would say.
Yeah. 100%.
Very, very intentional. So I knew I had 5 people that I definitely wanted to carry over from While They Slept, but then I also wanted to make sure I got different people who I didn't get to work with in While They Slept. A couple of those people being Kindle, who is phenomenal, and Juicy, who is also great.
Yep.
And then, you know, Corey, getting him involved, and TGI Free, getting him involved and everything. I definitely wasn't supposed to be telling anyone.
We can cut the names out.
We'll keep it. We'll keep it.
Good to blank the names out.
No. We'll fine. Yeah, we're good. That's like, I don't know. That's 5 of them. But it was hard to kind of pare down for sure. And then at one point I realized, I asked too many people to be a part of this, and I don't have enough time to get it all done.
Yeah.
So then I had to talk to some people, be like, hey, you know, I'm sorry, this kind of is, and everyone was super cool with it. And then once I got the roster down, I kind of wanted to think about how these artists would flow into each other in terms of the tape. So it definitely wasn't easy. I mean, I plan on doing these every other year, you know, and just keep making tapes and books and tapes and books and tapes and books, because I do think that there is enough talent to do that.
100%.
But this first one, I definitely wanted it to be people that I am listening to quite a bit. Same with While They Slept, but this one is a little bit more intimate, I would say.
Well, that's the silver lining of having too many folks, is that, like, you did, While They Slept was the proof of concept. So it's like, okay, I can continue to do this. Now there's a musical component to it. And it's like, we want to continue to do this style of this and evolve it. And because there is such a plethora of talent here, like, there is no shortage of like, oh, well, we're going to have AA on every single album or whatever. You know, we can feature as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And what we've talked about on the show before is just how many distinct styles come across and come through in this city. How do you, did you give the artist like a kind of like a direction, a creative direction when coming up with a song, or it's just like, send me the next banger that you got?
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in just trusting talented people. And that's really just where it came down to. I knew when I went to each of these people that they were going to provide me a song that was great. Like, I knew it. I told them, do your thing. And I said, in terms of the photo shoot, it can be as grand or as simple as you like. You know, some people have, you know, made it pretty simple. Some people wanted to have like a story involved with their photos, you know. I didn't want to give them any restraints. Sure. Because they're going to create the best product when they can just go in and do whatever they want. And that was the biggest part for me is, you know, I gave everyone like $100 for their time, essentially, to be like, hey, you know, create a song. You know, I'm just, not for me, but just create a song and then let's do photos for it, and then just have it be like, you know, a companion piece with the book. And yeah, everyone did great. And it was really important to me to pay everyone involved.
100%.
You know, because it's just rap, like photography, for some reason, people think that they should just be able to get it for free. Yeah. There's always been a struggle with that. And I definitely wanted to kind of change that narrative. You know,
100%.
I mean, the amount of people who have asked me to do work for free, you know, I definitely wasn't going to go to these artists.
Or for exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's yeah.
I can pay you an exposure.
Yeah, I can pay my bills with it. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, I mean, and, you know, I wish I could have, you know, paid everyone more, but, you know, I wanted to give them something and then provide them a rollout and then provide them a cover art. So, I mean, I like to think that I, you know, made it equitable for everybody involved. And that was really, really important to me, because I feel like equity in this city in terms of the arts is kind of low. You know, if it's not STEM, the city doesn't really champion it in the way that, like, you know, Gang does, you know, or the Arts Council does. And, you know, you have Big Car, you know, there's awesome organizations out there. But I would love to see more people paying people for their art.
100%. And we shouldn't have to be, and we shouldn't be afraid to be able to ask, like, for compensation for the work that we put in.
Yeah.
And I think we do live in kind of the culture of just like, shut up and take whatever you get and like be fine with it.
Yeah.
And then show up and then also do good work anyways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it could be a chain too. Like if you say yes this one time and it's okay, all right, now you've lowered it to here. And then when someone comes and asks you, you're like, all right, well, it's only this much less than what I made last time.
Yeah.
And then, you started here and now you're, it can definitely be a chain, inch to a mile thing.
Well, I love again, like you said, like one of the big changes or evolutions, I'll say, from While They Slept to Visual Aural, I think, is like the intentionality. Like you were intentional about this, but this was really like, okay, what can we craft together? And you've taken the step to even compensate everybody involved for their time.
And I don't say that to like brag.
No,
you know what I mean?
all.
Like I'm not like Moneybags Jake or anything.
No, not at all. But see, that's the thing though. Like people don't even talk about, hey, I did whatever I could to provide for the people my creative collaborators who came in and put their time and effort into this to help me make this project. And now you as like the creative lead who is like, essentially this is your project. While it is all of like everyone involved's project. Yeah. You're the one that leads it. And so you now go to market essentially with something like this. How do you approach something with such intention in that like, I now have to navigate this capitalist system of like, can I make can this be profitable? How do I make sure that this also keeps me going like from a like business standpoint, the artist or the photographer standpoint of like paying the bills.
Right. Yeah. I think similar to the first book, I wasn't concerned with making money off of it. I'm just concerned with people getting it in their hands and liking it and consuming it. And that's that's really it. I didn't start making physical photo books because I thought it was going to be a cash cow, No. I didn't ask that to think that you were. It's just like, I want you to continue to succeed as well. And it's like when I see people putting together beautiful works of art and then it's like, I love that we do it with such intention and I hate that we have to potentially suffer because of said art. Right. Where we get to points where because we can't be appropriately compensated or because things have become inaccessible, like we have to stop now at book 2 or book 3. Yeah. When there is, again, a wealth of talent out here and stories that need to be uplifted. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I ask, I know that you're not operating like that, but it's just like, I just want to uncover the question. Yeah. And for people to be like, oh, we should probably be thinking about this a little bit. For sure. Yeah. And I think, I'm really, really blessed and lucky to be able to have income from a separate thing to completely supplement what I want to make creatively.
100%.
And in my mind, I'll price it and I'll put it out there and people buy it or they don't. Yep. And it's I am more so concerned with fulfilling myself creatively and at the end of the day looking at what I created and I that's what I am kind of looking forward to in terms of creating physical books because it is expensive. Yeah. It is expensive and this one became even more expensive. But it's worth it when you release something and people have it in their hands. And, being at the last release show and just seeing people like flipping through it and talking to people next to them, getting to meet people I've never met before, being like, this is great, So in terms of, like I said before, I have no business savvy. So I kind of just, I fly by the seat of my coattails and just kind of hope it works out.
Well, I think it's from an outsider's perspective, it does appear to be working out because you continue to show up not only as a creator in your own right of like creating and showing up at events and taking beautiful photographs of people that we can then see all over social media, but to use part of your free time to be very intentional about creating works of art that are then available in perpetuity. I don't know. It's making me both frustrated and like excited just because from just the business aspect of it. It's just like these types of things are things that I wish I could have seen in like my local bookstore when I was growing up. But those are not the types of things that get investment. and get invested into, especially when we come from a state or a city that prides itself on being for the small business of the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we bust that barrier down to make sure that artists like yourself and all of the ones that permeate the city have the opportunity to create? Not everyone's going to create the next big thing, but everyone should have the opportunity if they can pursue it.
Yeah.
And I think we have the means to do so if we choose to do so.
Right. Do you think that people in the city are buying art?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think that there are some people in the city that buy art. I think,
and art in any form,
in any form,
like from artists in the city.
I do think that people. I think there are tiers. I think when I think of local people, local audiences showing up and buying a local artist thing, I think of Corey and like SBF and what they're doing, or like AA and showing up at Naptown Thrift, showing up like. And those are the people locally here that are showing up to buy like those pieces of art, I think. At like the other tier, I think, is artists who create works of art that are worth 5 figures or whatever. Like you look at Butter, like the people who showcase art there. And I think those are people that are coming, like people from here are not buying those pieces of art. So I think it's just like, to me, it feels tiered.
Yeah.
In that sense. And I do think if we have access to it and have the ability to access it, people want to buy it. And I think that's the other side of the question is accessibility, not just from a person who's a fan or whatever, but just accessibility in general for things.
Yeah.
And art is, I think there's 2 schools. That one school would say art is a luxury that we don't need to spend money on. And then I think art is a necessity because again, it's an expression of one person, but also people who quote unquote feel they aren't creative might tap into their creativity through other works of art. So buying a CD or buying a book or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And they probably want to support the person who created that.
Right.
And so I think that has at least a lion's share to do with the buying of art in the city anyways.
I would love to see, just similar to what I said earlier, like on that first and second tier. Yeah. I would just love to see more people, actually putting their dollars into the, creative community.
100%.
And, because we've had a ton of studies that show that there is money in the arts,
Yep.
And
we're generating billions of dollars allegedly.
Yeah.
So
right.
Like I'm like, all right, well, let's see.
For who? And it's like
exactly.
Where's it going?
We could have a very long conversation about this for sure.
I would love to see more patrons of the art, at least once a month. Go out there and, if you have the money, just like spend $25 on someone's print.
Right.
Like it's just I just want to see more consumption as opposed to more just like posting about it.
Exactly. And again, it's like easier to post, oh, Fitz just did a really cool thing and let me share it.
Yeah.
Instead of going like, oh, that's really cool on my wall, let me go purchase it.
Yeah.
Or even just down to the cart, or even just like the collab with St. Avenue, like the socks. I got a pair of socks.
Right.
Like,
and how much do rappers sell their albums for? $10?
Exactly.
$10, and like you have that and you can play it and play it and play it and play it and play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand money, like talking about money in this way is fickle for sure, because not everyone has it. Absolutely. 100%. I would like to see more of the people who do have the money actually, $10 a month just buy, Fox Legends album.
Exactly.
It's like I would just love to see more consumption, because I do think people are buying art.
I do
but
too.
In those first 2 tiers, locally, I would love to see more consumption of it.
I think another thing is like the visibility aspect of it too. It's just like, if even like I lived here for a total of like 10 years, and it only in the last 3 have I discovered any of this creative scene.
Yeah. Well, and
in indie.
100%. I think you hit on a whole other part, is that like, are we highlighting it in the way that we need to,
Yeah.
And I would say no, because, you and I had the same experience with local music.
Exactly.
It wasn't being highlighted in the way. So I'm not saying it's just on the consumer. I think you hit it on the head. I think that the powers that be, and we need more organizations to champion the local arts.
100%. Organizations, I'm already in your inboxes. You already know it. That's probably why you're not responding. But listen to this episode. I appreciate you sharing all that. And I got to have you back on to have another conversation about this. We need to have a roundtable creative economy
Have someone smarter than me.
Don't
have me back on.
But from the on-the-ground people,
Yeah.
like the artists themselves. I think that's, in some of our creative economy conversations, I think that's what's been missing. Anyways, Visual Aural, when can we expect this? So this episode is coming out. Today is July 25th, I believe. When can we get this? How do we get it? Where can we find it?
Yeah. It will be for sale at Naptown Thrift's 6-year anniversary party, which will be September 14th. We will have copies of the book and CD for sale, shirts for sale, and then a raffle for limited vinyl pressing. Okay. Yeah, so there will be 3 copies of the mixtape on vinyl. And if you buy a copy of the book and the CD, you get entered in for a chance to win the vinyl. We are going to play the tape in full, and then we are going to have live performances by Kindle, Fox the Legend, and TGI Free at Naptown Thrift.
Damn, that's a good lineup.
Yeah, it's stacked.
How much do I have to pay you to get one of those vinyls off the outside of the 3 giveaways?
I looked into doing a vinyl pressing before I just decided to do CDs, but it's crazy expensive.
It's expensive.
It's absolutely crazy. So in my mind, it's easier for me to, buy 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then just, hopefully entice people to buy the CD and the book, because the CD and the book are being sold together. You can't buy one without the other.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, because
Smart.
I really want people to, enjoy them together. And it's gonna
it was meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's gonna sell for $30. So for $30, you get like an original physical art piece and a physical CD, and then even potentially a vinyl copy. And then the shirts are going to be really cool too. It's just going to be the cover of the CD on the shirt, and on the back it'll have the track listing of everyone featured on it.
That's a whole gift bag of stuff right there.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm gonna get over that.
Yeah, shout out to Naptown Thrift too. They've been super cool working with me to make this show and their anniversary party a success. So we're looking forward to it.
That's a dope space to do it, as we well know, fellas. Having just recorded there with Double A great place, great people.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% here for it. September 14th, anniversary party.
Yeah.
Get there. I'm sure we'll be able, or is it like tickets free to show up?
It's free, yeah.
Okay, just
show
up.
Yeah, just show up.
2184 East 54th Street, I believe.
Damn. Way to go.
I've looked it up. I've looked it up like 4 times. So
One
I'm
of
pretty
those
sure
addresses you've Googled so many times. You're like, all right, well, here we go. Yeah, it's totally free for everybody. Not saying that there may be a capacity if we get to a certain point. But it's going to be during shop hours from 4 to 7. Going to be a pretty tight show, one after another, after we play the tape in full. But
4 to 7, no excuses to not show up.
Yeah.
That's an early time. You can go to bed afterwards. That's perfect.
And go get food afterwards.
Go get food. I love it. You're right there, Sobro, right there in Broad Ripple.
Yeah.
So you got spaces to go. I love it. I'm super excited for it. We're going to have a little surprise here at the end of the episode. But before we get to that, we're talking about the project as being this communal piece, as being something you made in community with other people, which is amazing and which I love, which leads into our recurring segment that we have here on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where our guests share or highlight one person or people that they would love to give their flowers to, they think deserve their flowers right now. So, Jake, I just want to ask you, who would you like to give their flowers to today?
It can only be one person?
It can be multiple.
Yeah, okay. Let me I think I want to give I'm going to go a little left field here. I want to give Naptown All Pro their flowers.
Okay.
Naptown All Pro is ran by somebody named Jay Rose, and it is basically a wrestling league, like a professional wrestling league. And I've gone to a couple shows or a couple matches, and it is just the level of artistry that these people are putting into, and the level of commitment that these wrestlers are putting into it is insane. And going to a show, it's wild. I went to one last year, and it was absolutely crazy.
Mm.
You know, as if you're a WWE fan, which I never really was.
Okay.
I just popped out, and then the commitment level and the amount of time that goes into these wrestlers creating their identities, and like you can tell they really really want it, and it's an amazing time. This is where the shirt's from.
Okay.
They had like a little Barbie collab, and I just recently went to a no rings wrestling match outside of Hot Boys, and it's just such it's crazy entertainment, and it's like and it's artistry and it's savagery, and it's just such a wonderful time. And J Rose is creating like a really, really cool community. I haven't got to meet him yet. I saw him on a plane from Las Vegas once, but I was too shy to meet him.
Sure.
Like, hey man,
I feel you.
I do that all the time.
Same.
I always want to be like, hey, I'm Jake. I like your stuff.
Yeah.
So
I feel the same. So I just invite them on my podcast.
yeah, smart. Yeah, man, you got a trick to it.
Yeah.
But Naptown All Pro. It's a wrestling league in the city, and it's so much fun. And the tickets are only like $15, and it's like a 2.5 hour match, and it's so much fun. So I would really encourage everyone to go check them out.
I love that. I have a good friend from the town I grew up in who pro wrestles in Louisville, and has gotten on AEW a couple times. Like the whole
cool.
character and stuff about it is wild. So I didn't realize. I knew that we had wrestling happening around here.
Yeah.
We just got the big Indiana Sports Court just announced the big wrestling like WWE, WWF and stuff. So that's exciting.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Shout out Naptown All Pro, J Rose doing some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
This segment sponsored by Frida's Flowers. Shout out to Madeline. Elevate your next event. What are you waiting for? Head to Frida'sFlowersIndy.com to learn more. I just have a couple more questions for you before I let you get out of here. This has been a great conversation. I feel like, again, many, many more conversations to come. I guess I was going to ask you, like, where do we address the gaps in our creative community as a community and as creatives? But I think we kind of like touched on it, and I think I want to save that maybe for a bigger conversation. So I think I would like to ask you, because we've touched on it a little bit, there's a big difference between photography, taking a photo, and posting a photo.
Yeah.
And so for someone who is entering into a creative field that involves photography, who is maybe doesn't understand the difference, can you give some advice on how you navigate and decide what it is that you want to do between these two and how you pursue that one that you want to do? Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things in photography or any creative field is finding your actual voice through that.
Okay.
It took me a long time before I realized, hey, keep it simple, stupid. Like, I love black and white photography.
Yeah.
I love hip hop. I want to be like the black and white hip hop guy in Indianapolis. Like, that's what I want. I always use Jonathan Mannion as an example. He was he's still alive. Yeah, he's still alive. He's a very famous hip hop photographer who has worked with so many crazy people. And I want that to be my identity specifically for Naptown. Like, I want to be the guy that does black and white Naptown rap. So I think finding your voice is probably the first thing you'll need to do, is just, what do you really love? And find a way to work that into your photography. For a while I did fashion and editorial, and I loved it, but it wasn't fulfilling me. I didn't love it. I liked doing it, but I didn't love it. So I think the first thing you need to do is just find what you really, really love and find any way to work that into your photography and have that be your creative outlet, your visual artist. And then do your best to find a way of making money with your photography. I think when you are able to have both of those, and when you're able to juggle both of those, each one keeps the other one fresh for you.
Sure.
When you are making money with the thing that you love to do, you are then able to do more things, creatively speaking, with what you love to do. So find your voice, and then find a way to make it worth it for you. Does that answer your question?
100%. Find your voice and do anything possible to work that into your photography, and then go make money.
Yeah. It's like, I never thought I would, do weddings or real estate or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get people to pay for photography. So if you can find a way to do it and you like it, I more power to you. Do that, and then still keep the camera in your hand. Personally,
I love it. Do that. Do what you love, and make money doing it, so you can continue to do what you love. I have loved this conversation. This is something that I love, and I'm really glad, and I'm really, really very honored that you came and sat down.
Yeah, I hope I didn't do too many ums. Everyone you've had has been like so eloquent in their speaking that like when I was watching the episode, I was like, I'm gonna look horrible.
I probably do the most ums, and also ever since Murdoch came on, it's just been a run of just orators, and I'm just like,
man, I swear, I
gotta work them in every time.
going back and watching all the backlogs definitely just made me more nervous. Like, these guys are such good speakers, and I'm horrible on camera, and like I love the production value that you have here. Everything is just so like. It's so top tier. So to even be on here and have a discussion with you to speak about everything that we did, I'm very honored. So
I appreciate that. Shout out the production team, Popular Rapture, John Overton on the mics, Mike Lee and Mike Lee Productions on the camera, Zane hanging out. He's been shadowing us a little bit, but you spoke well. I can't even speak right now because of how well you spoke. And you took the words right out of my mouth, but you were just as eloquent as anybody else has been on the show.
I appreciate it.
And I've really enjoyed learning from you. And the last question before we let you go, how do people here after we leave find you? How do we follow you specifically? And again, just one more time, where do we get the book? And where do we show up? When do we show up at Naptown Thrift?
Yeah. So you could probably find me on Instagram, just Jake with the Shop. It's all one thing. That's pretty much where I post everything that I'm doing creatively, whether I shoot, a festival or, and promoting my own personal stuff, or just when I just have a camera on me and I post things that I've taken photos of, just kind of like hanging out. So Instagram at Jake with a Shot is the best way to kind of keep up with it. And the book and CD are releasing September 14th at Naptown Thrift. From 4 to 7. There is, I hate when people say this, but I gotta say it. There is a limited quantity of 75 books and CDs. So, once they're gone, they're gone. I'll do another run and stock some of the stores like I did with While They Slept. I was able to put it at Luna Music and Indie Reads and Irvington CD and Vinyl, sell them on consignment there. Yeah. So, but yeah, once they're gone, they're going to be gone. So, come out, check it out, flip through it, listen to the tape. Yeah.
Check it out, consume it.
Yes,
consume it.
Yes,
multiple times, and then talk about it with your friends.
Please, yes, that'd make me very happy.
September 14th, Naptown Thrift, 4 to 7, 75 copies of the book and CD, 3 vinyl pressings if you're lucky enough to get those.
Yeah.
Jake, it has been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation. I can't wait to have you back. I can't wait to work with you at some point in the future.
Likewise.
100%. For everybody else, episodes drop every Tuesday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Again, shout out to the team, Mike Lee, John Overton, Zane, Roundtable Recording. Thank you for the space. Shout out to Madeline of Frida's Flowers, and shout out to the Top View team for sponsoring the show. If you want to find more stuff and listen to the backlogs, go to the website, conversationpeacepod.com. Follow us on Instagram as well, at conversationpodpiece. And we are 5 episodes away from 100. Stay tuned for some announcements. We got some really cool stuff coming up. I'm very excited about it. Before we go, we have one more special surprise for you. We are about to drop the debut single from Visual Aural, Juice, featuring Double A, friend of the show, previous guest. Shout out to Jake Moran, Jake with the Shot. Let's get it.
Yeah. Hey. Jake, what up? Yeah. What? They come to me for the. Yeah. Look. I said, they come to me for the plan, they come to me for the juice. Yeah. If they don't leave with the bands, I ain't the one to recruit. Yeah. They come to me for the brand, they never see all I do. Yeah. I turn them all in the stands, they wasn't fucking with you. Yeah. They come to me for the plan, they come to me for the juice. Yeah. If they don't leave with the bands, I ain't the one to recruit. Yeah. They come to me for the brand, they never see all I do. Yeah. I turn them all in the stands, they wasn't scribble, beats is kibble. The dog in me getting restless, rest assured if they rapping, I'm at their necklace. Wait a second, probably forgot to preface, I'm the shit in my energy too infectious. Shit, they said I was inspo, even when I had been broke. My competition get fucked like a nympho every time that my pen wrote. Bitch, I been cold, better check on my lymph nodes. Y'all been sweet as Calypso. They been had trouble just keeping their lips closed. Shit, they death is my intro. Y'all seen the city been popping, I put them on game. That's some shit that the homies ran. This success is a phony, man. Remember eating bologna sands. Now I feast on some clothing bands. Life a movie, no Sony cam. Wifey bad with no OnlyFans. I've been working with only brands that been genuine. People gon' talk and I know you been only scans. Everybody say, fuck no. When they want you to bend over backwards and not trying to pay. Everybody say, fuck no. When they always be making excuses for every delay. Everybody say, fuck no. When they dragging you into some shit that just benefit them. I had to try it and fuck up to know how to move. When they see you and know that you him. Dubs, they come to me for the plan. They come to me for the juice, yeah. If they don't leave with the bands, I ain't the one to recruit, yeah. They come to me for the brand. They never see all I do, yeah. I turn them all in the stands. They wasn't fucking with you, yeah. They come to me for the plan. They come to me for the juice, yeah. If they don't leave with the bands, I ain't the one to recruit, yeah. They come to me for the brand. They never see all I do, yeah. I turn them all in the stands. They wasn't. And my tax, you know you broke. I know the hating ain't provoked, yeah. Y'all mistake me for a joke, but I been had you in the scope, yeah. I been had you on the ropes. It's not a battle with the votes, yeah. I've been crazier than most. Just call me ticket in the post, yeah. They better come with a double team. Who on double team? Shit, a couple mean motherfuckers. My chain is gleaming like the crown on the queen of the Duchess of Sussex, but fuck it. They have my back like a puppet. I bodied and got me a bucket. I had to cut off the people who asked me for shit with the promise that I'm gonna love it. Dog, what's your budget? I didn't work too hard to be working pro bono. That shit being no-no. I don't give a fuck about you posting promo instead of a check. I could do this shit solo if I wanted all of the stress shit. I'm local already. Got business to run. Check the logo. I'm probably inside of the shot taking photos. I never get FOMO. Be honest, we both know that anything happen and that been hitting the same. And let's double A make an appearance. They never ask me for clearance. They see the kid and they ask me if I need a drink, but some lame shit I never go near it. I set the tone and they fear it. I got the keys, let me steer it. Don't gotta ask if I'm on, cause I know if I said it, they hear it. Dubs. They come to me for the plan. They come to me for the juice, yeah. If they don't leave with the band,